Well, hello and welcome. I'm Sue Britz,
And I'm Tina Lokkbakk. Welcome to Retired,
the podcast where we talk about what life is like when we put on new tread, new wheels that move us to our next adventure. Let's start by doing a little catch up. How are things going?
As your Mimi went out for the sniffs, I've started to use that as well. Right before, like the last month or so, she does not want to go out of the gate. She was starting to look at me like, no, we're good. We just stay in the yard now. And so I've been taking her downstairs and she'll pee. And that, look at the ground, sniff a little bit, and then we come back up. So I think we're at the same place you were.
Yeah.
Happens fast.
You know,
Yeah.
I follow the galgos del Sol in Spain. And
What's that?
the galgos are the Spanish greyhounds. And they have this rescue.
Oh,
And today they posted about a dog that, it was its time. And so it went out for its last walk and its last sniffs and its last, food and its last play with this. And then they have pictures and they're laying in this like an arbor of flowers with blankets on the ground. And then, the last picture is them there's no people in it, just the dog dead apparently laying there with the flower. They put flowers on its chest, and it's
oh,
like, oh my god. But you don't see
that's
images of that
beautiful
too
at the same
much.
time. No, you
Yeah.
don't.
And that's what you got to normalize it, because it shouldn't
Yes.
be so scary. You should be saying this
No,
is normal. This is
this is
normal, and
part
this
of
was good. This was a good example of how
a
to.
beauty. There
Yes,
was
and
beauty in that.
yes, and there was love and everything until
All of it.
and that's the way it should be. And I
I
have to
agree.
commend that. So I don't know.
Me too. Thank you
Anyhow,
for sharing. That's a great thing to share. It's true. And I don't know if you've thought more about it, but I have a lot lately. I will be one of those people. If you even want to throw anything, throw something. But if you do, can we just be positive about this? Like, go ahead and cry, but let's play my favorite music, let's
mm-hmm.
play my best playlist, and let's only have the foods that everybody else enjoys because you're the ones that are eating it. Let it be a fun thing and not a stressful thing. I don't know. And you know what was really weird for me? My cousin just went to go visit my parents' graveyard that's in their little hamlet town where my family, all the Lokkbakks are being buried. And for the first time, I thought to myself, maybe I do want to be buried there. Maybe I do want to be buried with my parents on the little hamlet. It's by a river. When I went to go visit last, it was so beautiful. And I thought, of course you'd want to be buried here.
Hmm.
If your spirit is stuck around the gravestone, that's the view I want to have. And then my cousin said they don't do plots of 3 unless you had pre-ordered it. So then my cousin and I were seriously talking, like, well, maybe we should, she's not married. Maybe I'll just get buried with my cousin, and we'll take a plot of 2.
Well,
Anyway, it's interesting.
would you take your whole body to?
Oh, well, in ashes.
Okay, thank God. I'm like,
Oh, no, in ashes.
and
Bring
you
me in a
think
box.
there's still like you said your soul comes up and around the
Oh, no,
gravestone,
if that does exist, I do believe.
if that
I
does
do
exist.
believe in energy. I really believe that if that is one of the biggest laws that we have, that energy can't be created or destroyed, I really do believe we're recycled into energy. What that is, I don't know. What that looks like, I don't know. But I do believe that whether we turn into a rock or dirt and all of it, it's energy, right? We just feed back into whatever it is.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I would have thought you wanted to be spread in your
I did.
the
I always have.
and
It
you know
just,
what? You can always just take a pinch and put it here. You don't even need a plot. You just go take a pinch and spread it on
yeah.
your parents on
Yep,
top of
that
the
can
grave.
work
I
too.
mean,
Right. And divide it up if the girls want it. Great. Take
see.
it. I don't really care. But I just thought a piece of me should definitely go back to Norway.
Well, a
Yeah.
pinch.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah, that could work. Well, anyway, on those uplifting notes.
Let's do some of our own uplifting notes.
Yes.
Here we go. we're going to continue our conversation from the last 2 weeks because one conversation leads to another, right?
Absolutely. The buck stops here,
Yes.
Sue.
Yes. The value of a buck. That today's is the value of a buck. So the buck stops here. We know that. But now we need to
But what
know,
is that value?
yes, what is the value of that buck? I'm thinking of a buck as a dollar bill, of course, but I'm also thinking of a deer. I just can't help it. And that has value. But anyhow, off the subject. Okay, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh, when I think of the buck, it stops here. Think about the power that a buck has. You look at it in awe. It's strong, it's muscular. It does stop. And it should be a strong, non negotiable value. And the buck is a beautiful symbol, I think.
Okay, so you are in agreement with this animal thing. Okay. I
100%.
wasn't the only one thinking this weird stuff.
No,
Okay. All right.
more so than a dollar bill. That doesn't do it for me. But the
Yeah.
big buck standing in the middle of the path, staring at you with its glory and its strength.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so the buck stops here. We were talking the last week how it comes at a personal cost to you, the teacher. And, it could be any profession, but in particular, we're talking about what we know, what we've spent a good career on. And, and you know that it does come at cost. I mean, just the physical cost of carrying that kind of stress, that kind of commitment, it over long periods of time in a job that already doesn't allow you to even go to the bathroom. It has a lot of physical uh, impacts.
That's just kind of wrong, isn't it? The
Well, you know,
bathroom.
well, yeah, and then there's being able to sleep at night too. You got your dreams of all the things, all your responsibilities, and they're nightmares. They're not happy dreams. Occasionally, you'll get a happy dream in there, but mostly it's about the stress, the pressure, and so you're not even getting good night's sleep, and that's a bad precedent to establish as a habit over your lifetime as well.
Well, I was kind of thinking of shifting today's conversation more into how did you discover in a deeply aware way what your values were? At what stage in your life or what experience did you have? Did you discover that this is the non-negotiable? We talked last week about how, let's say for me, it was teaching that taught me the importance of a safe environment for everyone. That you can't learn, you can't teach unless you're in a safe emotionally and physical environment. So I was thinking about other places and ways that I learned what my values were, and I'm wondering if anything pops into your mind now for
Well,
you.
I think I was just born that way. And it was the culture of my family and the religious upbringing and all of that. At the time period, the end of the boomer time period, the Catholic influence and my family culture. It's about responsibility and fairness. And those are the things that you've got to do. And so from the beginning, that's what the assumption is. Hard work, responsibility, and fairness. So and the assumption that everyone else is going to be doing the same thing.
I would like to tell you, as you said, fairness, all of a sudden I made connections. And that is something that you taught me. That our friendship, and I remember we were sitting you had a minivan at the time, and you'd pick me up at my house, and we drove somewhere to eat or get a coffee. And you were telling me about in your family, you had gender rules as to which chores to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it made you angry. And honestly, it stuck with me. It made me angry too. Because I remember my mom always making me polish the silver for Christmas, which I resented. But what I wanted to do was mow the lawn. And it was kind of where you spoke to me in that I would rather have been outside mowing the lawn than to be inside polishing silver or making cookies. And
It just cracks me up, this polishing the silver. Talk about like this weird entitlement, and the, that people even have silver, and the old fashioned ways of, oh, let's polish the girl, polish the silver. It's so, I
yes.
don't know, it's funny, but anyhow.
Now, you know what? Well, you know what is funny, and I now I really understand, and it's part of what I have been thinking about as being a Norwegian American. In Norway, Christmas time is over the moon an important value. That's where the country, they even have certain words that are specific. And so my mom, I thought she was crazy. And she was in some ways, but she would do all the spring cleaning. We had to clean the house, wash the curtains, wipe the walls down, polish the silver, and it all had to deal with Christmas time. And I just thought, this is just terrible. It makes Christmas seem terrible because there's so much work involved, and I didn't get to choose my chores. Turns out that's what they do in Norway. Even to this day, it is the sacred thing. You get the house ready before the 23rd of December, because at that point you unpack everything. So my mother was just bringing what she brought from the motherland. And at that time, even if you were poor, I think most people had silver, or it was my mom's obsession to have it. So we had silverware that was silver, and that became my chore. That's where it comes from. So I just want to say that is the thing of being raised in a different culture in a different country. So my mom just brought the culture there.
So was your silver always wrapped in,
Yep.
nowadays in plastic, but in the beginning it was wrapped in special cloth, and yeah,
Special cloth. To
yeah,
this day, there's little fork slots, little
yeah,
spoon slots. They're in rolls.
yeah,
Yes.
and it's not coming out anymore. Yeah, no one.
No,
The
because
problem
I
is
don't
it's
want to
silver
polish the
plated.
silver.
You can't even sell it for scrap because it's silver plated and it's not. Yeah.
This is silver. I shouldn't say it, but this is silver. And where my mom had this arrangement, so her mother was institutionalized with schizophrenia since she was
Oh my God.
30. Yeah. So she was in an institution her whole life, gentle soul, just couldn't handle the war and my mom's dad dying and having to raise a child. She was just too weak and, mentally to deal with the stress. And every Christmas and every birthday for myself and my mother, we would get a silver fork or a silver spoon or a silver whatever. So it actually came from a real silver store with a stamp on it. So my mom was very proud of that. And I'm proud of it now, even though I never even look at it, because I think about that connection with my mom, her difficult childhood. And this was something that my mom could get. And it was kind of memorialized, I guess.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's silver.
Well, I don't. This thing of the value of a buck stopping here, it's a value, not like just a cost, but it's those values you carry through your life. And we were wondering about if that value is gone in today's culture. I mean, do young families and the parents and the kids, do they even have these respect for that value or interest in that
Wow.
value?
That's a really good point.
I mean, it's just like, okay, so we're talking about fairness. Fairness means sometimes it's
Wow.
not going to go your way. It's got to be fair all around. There's got to be some kind of equity around everything. There's rules that are followed, and you follow the rules, and that establishes the fairness. But there's this breaking of rules. And then you talk about responsibility. Well, to yourself and to your family, doing all the work and doing the things you're supposed to do, treating people the way you're supposed to treat them. Um, it seems to me that there is an erosion of those values, that there isn't this appreciation of fairness and responsibility, the hard work ethic that boomer generation
Wow.
and those who were raised by boomers and uh, kind of have lived, have held as a value. So the buck stopping here, maybe it's the stopping of this culture. I mean, we have our our boomer in chief who models the opposite of those values and has made it like, and he's doing it worldwide, and he's really disintegrating the best part of what holds us together as and helps us function as a culture and society. I mean,
I'm going to play devil's advocate. Not saying I agree, but I'm playing this advocate in that actually he's bringing back the values from the 70s. Like he's bringing us back down to where we were.
I don't
So
understand
he's
what you
just,
mean.
mm,
What's so bad about the 70s? I mean,
I'm saying where women didn't join the Elks or the Moose Club and got pushed out of the ability to have business networking as the men did. It's all about our rights. You know, women's sports didn't exist.
well, that's why he's
We
pushing us
didn't,
back farther than that. The
that's what I,
70s.
well, I'm, okay, how far do you want to go?
Well, I think from his upbringing
That's
back
exactly
back
right.
in the
That's true.
30s and 40, back in the 30s or
Well,
40s or
if he's
80
80, he
something.
was
So the
born when?
40s. Go back to the 40s. That's what he
Okay.
wants. Yeah.
Okay. Well, no, because he wasn't even cognizant of 40s values. But
Yeah,
let's go to the
but
50s.
that's not true
Let's
because
go
you're
to
talking
the
about the
50s.
70s and we were
What he
cognizant.
would love, hold on, what he would love. And I remember, oh my God, Sue, my ex husband had a friend who mentioned this book, and I don't know if he ever had it, but it was about women, how to behave in the 50s, and that you should put on, I remember this, I was scarred, that women in the 50s were expected. Think about Ozzie and Harriet,
Right.
you know, and I Love Lucy.
Mhm.
So you were to put on a dress when wait till your father gets home and your high heel shoes and have the food cooking in the oven
Right.
and wear your hair in a fresh bow. I remember it was described though, but it was a textbook that they used in public education
Mhm.
on how to be the housewife at that
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
That, if you think about it, is probably what Trump grew up in, is that environment. And
Right.
that is where he wants the woman to return.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was being generous with the
Well,
70s.
the 70s, no, that was a whole different. I'm thinking protesting and you're in
Oh no, I was just thinking about how women
power of the
couldn't, when did
people
we
and
decide that
burn
people
your
could have,
bra and all that
yes.
stuff. No,
Or
this is
remember,
you're
wasn't it?
talking way before this. And the truth is the values that you live even as a little kid. So, born in the 60s and 7, you were born what, closer to the 70s. You named that as the decade that you are thinking of
Remember.
because you are raised in
Yes.
what your parents are living as
Yes.
adults, and
Yes.
and yeah, so yeah, he's wanting to go back to that, or he'd, I think, prefer to go back to caveman times. And I don't even know why we're arguing about it because it's insane what's happened, is happening, and will happen in the time that we're still struggling through. And yeah, I think it has what it does is echo this movement that was already kind of going in that general direction with regard to public school education, and and empowering it to happen, empowering this unfairness, the entitlement of a certain groups of people, and really the disintegration of the middle class.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just
A whole
it
other
it's
sad
and
thing.
well, and that if you think about the middle class, if you're thinking, public school education, you're thinking.
Hold on, wait. Stop. Hold on. I have to think back. What is middle class again, Sue? I don't remember. Just kidding. Go ahead.
I don't know what
Because
that
there
meant.
isn't one. I mean, it's so small now. It really is. I mean, it is, but it's not.
Yeah, well, and if you take that idea of middle class to like public school education, you're thinking about it's not just economic, but it's the values of that group, and so you're talking about
Mhm.
the values still that generally most people follow of do unto others, that idea of fairness and responsibility. If that doesn't exist anymore, and that's echoed by the larger culture imposed on insanity in this country is now being emulated around the world as well. There's a,
Mhm.
you know, uh, yeah. How do you get back to a classroom and go, expect that there's going to be any kind of work ethic, any kind of fairness, except for those empowered to receive the fairness at everyone else's cost? It's just, I don't know how you can let yourself let the buck stop here. I don't think I think that's starting to erode as well. And when that erodes, that is where a full-on takeover can happen with that lack of value, the value being switched to such a negative. So you have to persist. You have to, because the alternative is just so abhorrent. You can't not continue to struggle. You have to. You have to stand for those values of fairness. And it comes at this cost. And it costs teachers, through our time, our generation. But now, what we're talking about is today's kids in the classroom and our country as a whole. You got to persist. You got to insist that fairness and responsibility are important,
Okay. So we're
central.
going to tie back into education, and that is where public education is so important. Because if, as we were talking about, you were only raised in your little family enclave in a little tiny town without exposure to different people and different ways of thinking, you just carry forward that thought, that small world with you. And I think about this a lot with my own parents and being raised in this small town. And it's so important that we educate our people to be open to LGBTQ or to different religions, to different differences. And if and as we're shutting down, it seems, by our government to make it small again, that's what divides the country as well, is to take away this awareness of other people and to understand that people are different, especially for people raised in small environments. It's like we're closing in on ourselves. And
Well,
that's where,
yeah.
again, education is so important, because if you don't have this exposure in your world, how are you going to be open to people and life and countries and not have xenophobia? I
It's ironic because it used to be in the old days it was a smaller culture because of your family or your community or whatever. But nowadays, that the technology has this ironic
oh, right,
duality
that's
where
true.
you get
Ironic duality.
exposure to
Yeah.
the whole world and everything, and at the same time
Yet,
you're so isolated and don't contact actual people. It's this strange, weird duality that mirrors the same thing, but adds in different challenges that are out of the hand, out of the reach, out of the responsibility of a teacher in a classroom.
and as you just said that, I'm thinking about something that Maria has tapped onto, and she loves Facebook and scrolling through it. And her world, all the metrics, the algorithms have made it so small that she will bring
Hmm.
up sometimes these preposterous things. And I'm Googling to see, is this true? Is this fact? Because that's the other thing that's dangerous. Yes, we have all these worldviews, but we also have systems that take it so that you only see one view.
Right,
We don't
right.
have the duality of what's really going on. And if we, again, that's where education, public schools, it's so important that we have it to show the dualities, to show all the options out there so that we don't learn only one. So, in a way, technology is taking our openness and closing those worlds too,
Hmm.
with people now who no longer leave the living room.
That's a big
That's even
challenge.
scarier.
Yeah, it's a huge challenge that teachers are having to face now. And kind of to bring us back in
Yeah.
closing, to bring us back to what we had um, touched on last week, was the impact that this has on the kids themselves. So no, we've talked about what the impact that it does on teachers, and all of that is well documented. The physical, emotional, the stress, all that. Same thing. I mean, more research needs to be done with kids, but when you have those kids in the classroom when you have the opportunity to be in classroom, when you have those kids in classroom who are so disruptive, and we're not talking like calling
Oh,
out or whatever, but that kind of disruption that makes you have to abandon the
harmful
classroom.
disruptions.
Yeah, and leave the class. Everyone has to leave the classroom because the child is exploding literally in the classroom, tearing
Hmm.
things off the walls, and
Keep people safe.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So when that is happening, what that impact that on the regular, I should say, and
Yes,
that
on
impact that it has on the rest of the class, the rest of the people,
it's
and
huge.
they're growing up. There needs to be more research on it, but as we know, I mean, if that behavior is allowed and tolerated, other kids are going to shut down. They're not going to get the same amount of education, the educational experiences that are normally available to them, the chance to interact and work in cooperative groups and do all the interesting things. Because
Mhm.
if it's going to be torn apart the next day, I mean, what's the point? So there's that they're lacking the ability to have the better interactive education that they could
For
be
all.
having, let alone we know that, if you do this as an example, I get to talk back to the teacher or I get to not do the work at all because they're not doing the work. Why should I do the work? That yes,
Yeah, it's like
the behavior is mimicked, and there is
yes.
research that supports that as well. So
And you're right. That also pulls it down because learning is hard, and people in general, all of us are born with let's do the easiest thing. So it's easier to fall into watching people get away with it, and it is a ripple effect. And the opposite is also true, right? So if everybody's working hard, then
yes,
you're going to raise yourself up
yes,
because you don't want to be the person when everybody else is working
that's
hard.
what
So
we're
you're
talking
right.
about. Yeah.
Indirectly, it's making everybody fall into the direction we don't want them to go, but maybe that's the plan.
Well, see, that's the
And
whole
that's
point.
what's going to create
When you
poverty and rich to be even further and
yeah,
lose the middle class
when
too.
you make it so that the poor are stuck in one place
Yes.
and with the lack of opportunity to
Change.
implement good education because of behavioral issues. And if you've got money, you can put your kid in a private school where that's where
Right. To
where
avoid.
the government cannot say no, you can't exclude that child from the classroom. It's a business. You're allowed to exclude the child from the classroom, and conduct a classroom as you normally would with high expectations and high interest curriculum and implementation of that curriculum. And if your behavior is off or you're not doing your work, then sorry, you're out. No, sorry, even you're out. And that's, yeah, that is a plan. And it's also at the same time this the eroding up. But see, that's not the plan is so flawed because in real world, if you are creating a culture of we're not being fair and we're not being responsible and working hard, who's going to do all the work? I guess they're counting on AI to do it, which we're back to the same old circle of like this stuff is you can't sustain this. This is not sustainable. So ah, the buck stops here, and the buck has value. It says you got to keep caring, you got to keep trying, you got to keep persisting, and it can turn around. It feels so hopeless at
But I
times,
do think, even though we are seeming to be regressing,
massively, quickly.
perhaps it will help us think because not necessarily the way we were doing it before. Let's say we have these extreme, let's go back to the classroom, extreme personalities that are being valued really greater than the whole, like the one piece is
Yep.
being respected more than the whole.
Yep.
Perhaps we will shift in our way of dealing with the the one piece because I think what we've been doing isn't working either, which has gotten us to this place. So I'm going to hope that we can figure out how best to meet the needs of those kids who also need an education and values and
But
things.
not at the cost
But
of everyone
but
else. Yeah.
yes, but we have to do it differently because I can't say I remember fourth grade. Believe this, fourth grade. So that put me at 1977 ish. And I remember my mom going into the principal and saying, "Do whatever you need to do. You're welcome to spank her." Because do you remember those days of paddling?
Oh,
You
yeah.
would go to the principal and you would paddle. I don't think that was the answer either. So I'm glad we dropped that. But at the same time, it's like we've gone on the other side of the pendulum where, hey, kid, throw the furniture and make everybody feel unsafe and get away with
Well,
it.
not
So
only
there
feel
is the
unsafe,
extreme
but they are unsafe.
be unsafe.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that value of how we deal with the student who is acting out, we really need to rethink
You
both
say
those
the
systems.
student, the students.
Okay, thank you. I am so traumatized by the student that I have as my example because
Yeah.
I'd never
Well,
seen
it keeps going, and there's
that.
not just one. I mean, it's
No, you're
becoming
right.
more and more in the classroom because
No, it
because it's
is.
allowed to happen, and so there's more and more
Correct.
kids like this,
That's
and
correct.
there could be other environmental factors and everything else. But the point being is
Hmm.
the degradation of the buck stopping here. There's value in the buck stopping here, calling calling it, people, and bringing it forward, and insisting, persisting that it not be that there's a better way, and we can do so much better. And you know what? Fairness, kindness, responsibility, those things are the values that we need
The
to hold on
values,
to. Yes, we're back to
not just in a
values.
classroom. I mean, this is for the
Yes.
world. This is for
Yes.
the day to day.
Mhm.
Buck stops here, Sue.
All right. Thanks for listening. Now let's pack up this week's episode in the trunk.
Ride shotgun and be a part of our adventure by clicking on the plus sign to follow our show. This will help our ratings and, more importantly, inspire us to keep creating fun and engaging content. We would love to hear from you in the comment sections or email us at retiredpodcastnewtread@gmail.com. Use the fast track lane by sharing episodes with friends, family, and anyone who would like to join us on our road trip through retirement.
Be sure to check the show notes for links and contact information. Retired is chauffeured by Sue Britz and Tina Lokkbakk. It is produced, directed, and edited by me, Sue Britz. Music and graphics are by me, too. Buckle up and tune in next week so that you won't miss your chance to join our
Our
retired road
road
trip.
trip.